Good morning. I want to thank you for your attendance this morning, being here. Meridian Township is committed to excellence in every form, including our law enforcement role. This time I want to introduce the other individuals who are on the screen, and I'll start with Chief Plaga. Chief?
Good morning. My name is Ken Fogg. I'm the Chief of Police for Meridian Township. I've been for the past 3 years. I've been in law enforcement for almost 29 years, and 25 and a half of them here at Meridian Township.
Thank you. And also we have the retired Commander of Professional Standards for the Michigan State Police, Tawana Powell. Commander Powell.
Good morning. Again, I'm Tawana Powell. I have over 25 years with the Michigan Department of State Police, and I retired from the agency as the commander of the Professional Standards Section.
Thank you both for your introduction. At this time, I'd like to ask Chief Plaga to go over in broad terms from March 10th, the arrest up till today, and all the steps that we've taken to be very transparent in this process. Chief Plaga.
Thank you, Manager Walsh. On March 10th, we had a call of a retail fraud from one of our local businesses. All of our units, uniformed officers and patrol cars were on other calls at the time. Plainclothes detectives had heard the call and went to the area to see if they could locate the suspect that had left on foot. One of our detectives did locate the suspect and make a contact with that suspect and attempt to detain him and obtain information. During that interaction, the suspect assaulted the detective by punching him in the face. And then the detective and other officers took the subject into custody. On the 11th of March, we had a bystander that witnessed this, that had videotaped the incident, and that bystander had given us the video that morning. Watching the bystander's video alone, the body-worn camera and from the officers was not yet available. It caused us concern about how that suspect was taken into custody. We then contacted the Michigan State Police and asked them to look into this so that they could submit a report to the Ingham County Prosecutor's Office for review. We also took the video to our Advocates and Leaders for Police and Community Trust, our ALLPAC, which I've been a member of for several years, and showed the video to that membership that could attend and let them know that we were indeed investigating this situation to make sure that there was no improprietary or excessive use of force issues. Also, we sought out a third-party individual, which ended up being Commander Powell, to review this for appropriateness and use of force and policy and procedure. Commander Powell also completed an extensive review and submitted a report. Both the prosecuting attorney's report and Ms. Powell's report has been made available. And then the videos from this incident will also all be made available at the conclusion of this press conference.
Thank you, Chief Plaga. I think it's important to note that transparency in everything we do, especially our law enforcement, is very important to this township, to our residents, to our community. I want to reiterate that within 48 hours of this event, within 24 hours of receiving a copy of the bystander's video, we notified the media and we notified the public that we had something that drew our interest and that we were going to review, and all the steps that we took up until today to review the arrest that occurred on March 10th. As the chief mentioned, a number of you already have. We released the county prosecutor's memo, the retired Commander Powell's investigation and review. Both of those were released at 9 a.m. this morning, and they'll be available today also on our website, as well as a copy of the video. So at this time, I would like Chief Plaga to review step by step the video. And following that, I would like to ask retired Commander Powell, who has 25 years experience or more in law enforcement, and certainly reviewed hundreds of complaints, concerns about law enforcement, and she's had responsibility reviewing those. We went to an expert. So at this time, I'd like to ask you, Chief Plaga, to review the video with the public and the media. Thank you.
So we're going to view this video in 3 sections. Go ahead and share the screen with the video. In this first video, which is the witness's video that was delivered to us on the 11th, prior to the witness starting this video, the detective had identified the suspect who was wearing the stolen items, that Adidas tennis shoes and the sweatshirt, which had been reported stolen, and he attempted to make contact for identification purposes. When he identified himself as a police officer and the suspect continued to walk away, he attempted to detain the suspect, at which time the suspect had punched him in the face, and the detective went to take him into custody. You're going to see up into the point where the witness video begins is after the detective has been punched and after a brief scuffle had occurred. So go ahead and show the video.
Excuse me! Excuse me!
What did I do? What the fuck? What did I do? I didn't even hit him. Sir,
Excuse me!
turn around. Okay, I'm trying. Your stomach. I'm trying. Wait, what?
Excuse me, a police officer is here. Can you stop?
On your stomach. I can't. You're right there. Turn over.
I am recording.
Yo. Get on your stomach. I'm trying to. You're right there. Get on your stomach. Hands on your back right now. I'm trying to. Why did he hit me?
This next video is the body-worn camera of the first uniformed officer that had arrived.
6804, en route.
What did I do?
68 en route.
What the fuck?
You're going to jail now.
What did I do? I didn't even hit him. Sir,
Turn around.
Okay,
Get on your stomach.
I'm
Get on your
trying.
stomach.
Wait, what?
Excuse me, a police officer is here. Can you stop?
Get on your stomach.
I can't. You're right there. I can't. Turn over. Where? Yo,
Get on your stomach.
I'm trying to. You right there.
Get on your stomach.
He just hit me.
Hands behind your back right
I'm
now.
trying to. Why'd he hit me?
Give me your hand. Pull him out. Pull him out this way.
Yo,
This way.
yo.
Now, I got him. I got him.
So the second series of videos that you will see is a second plainclothes detective arrives and conducts non-compliant handcuffing. You'll see on the witness video what appears to be the detective kneeling on the suspect's head or neck. You'll also see in the body-worn camera of both the first uniformed officer that arrived and then a second uniformed officer that has arrived. You'll be able to see closer that it's the kneeling is on the upper shoulder and lower back, as officers are trained to do for non-compliant handcuffing. You'll also hear the witness who doesn't understand or does not know that the first plainclothes detective was a actual police officer. She'll ask whether or not he's a police officer. You're also going to identify the second detective attempting to de-escalate the situation by removing the detective that was in the altercation out of the view of the suspect being arrested.
Behind your back right now.
Trying to. Why'd he hit me?
Give me your hand. Pull him out. Pull him out.
Yo,
This way.
yo.
I got him.
Yo! Okay. What did I do? What did I do? Yo! First thing what I did, you just hit me for leaving, right? You got that, right?
Yes, but I have no idea what's going on.
I don't either. I just ran up on me.
You're a police officer? What happened? Hey, sir, just be still.
What is your problem, yo? What did I do, man? Explain to me what the fuck going on. I'm not gonna spit. Explain it, man. No, I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling. What the fuck is going on? Yo, you leave me the fuck alone, you white boy. That whole ass nigga. I'm trying to talk to you, you keep hitting me. I'm not spitting, man. Fuck you up.
What happened?
Yo. I'm chilling with you. Fuck you, get off me. Yo, what am I doing, though? You let me off me. Fuck you. Get off me, dude. What did I do, dude? Why? What? Did I pay for you, mean? I got money in my pocket right now. Now I don't use those things, dummy. That's how you get tight, dumbass. Sign your butt. Sign your butt. Oh, that's ridiculous. Don't say anything on clothes, guys.
This is the body worn camera of the second officer, uniformed officer, to show up on scene.
Yo!
I got him.
Yo!
Give me cuffs.
What did I do? What did I do? Yo! The first thing what I did, you just hit me. You got that, right?
It was at the Myers 2055 West Glenville.
I don't need it. I just ran up on me.
You're in there 10-2.
You got blood right there.
It's at 88 6791.
This way towards me? Yep.
Now, we're a partner. I'm about to kill him.
Hey, relax.
Hey, fuck off me, huh?
Relax.
Do not spit on me. Do not spit on me. I'm a bite your ass. No, you're not.
Do not spit. Do not
What the
spit.
fuck is your problem, yo?
Do not spit.
What did I do, man? Explain to me what the fuck going on.
Do not spit.
I'm not gonna spit. Just explain, bro.
Yeah.
Y'all chilling, bro. I'm chilling. What the fuck is going on?
You guys gotta spit, man.
Yo, you leave me the fuck alone, you white boy. You
Relax.
whole ass nigga.
Relax.
I tried to talk to you. You keep hitting me.
Relax.
I'm about to kill one of y'all. Fuck y'all. Yeah, fuck y'all. Yo.
Relax,
I'm
man.
killing one of y'all. Fuck you. Get off me.
You don't have that opportunity right now. Just
Yo,
chill
what
out.
am I doing, though?
89
You heard it all? Fuck you. Get off me, dude.
Looks like he's about to pull up.
Right here.
60, you all set there for units?
What did I do, dude?
Okay, I'll tell the MSU unit continuing. 924, you're gonna continue.
What? You dumb fuck?
For stealing.
What did I steal?
For a moment. 89,
What did I steal?
another call back there. We'll go.
Did I pay for you, mean? I got money in my pocket right now. What's
Okay,
up?
I'm clear. The 89, you can disregard the assist, but I'll show you
How you get close, dumbass?
welfare for now.
Try to set him out.
Alright, so I had to hang up on the complaint, so I'll call him back.
Sign your butt.
Yeah, 10-4, hang up.
Sign your butt.
Fuck you. There you go. Some
So,
bitches.
924, continue.
Look at these in my clothes, dog.
Then this body worn footage is from the first officer that was uniformed that arrived on scene.
Yo!
I got him.
Yo!
Give me cuffs.
What did I do?
6810-2 secure.
What did I do? Yo! Explain to me what I did. You just hit me for a reason, son. You got that, right? I don't need it. I just ran up on me.
You got blood right there. Roll this way towards me.
Yep.
I'm looking at it.
So it's.
Now, we're a partner. I'm about to kill him.
Hey, brother.
Hey, fuck off me, ho!
Stop.
Do not spit on me. Do not spit on me.
I'm gonna bite your ass.
Do not spit. Do not
What
spit.
the fuck is your problem, yo?
Do not spit.
What did I do, man? Explain to me what the fuck going on.
Do not spit.
I'm not gonna spit. Explain it. No, I'm chilling, bro. I'm chilling. What the fuck is going on?
You guys got a spit mask?
No, you don't leave me the fuck alone, you white boy. Alright? You
Relax.
whole ass nigga.
Relax.
I tried to talk to you. You don't keep hitting me.
Relax.
I'm about to kill one of y'all. Fuck y'all. Oh, fuck y'all.
You okay?
Yo.
You need a medic?
Yo.
Relax,
I'm
man.
killing one of y'all. Fuck you. Get off me.
You don't have that opportunity right now.
Yo,
Chill
what am I doing, though?
Have you heard it all?
Man, fuck you. Get off me, dude.
Do you see any injuries on him?
It's a cut right here.
16 off at there, 4 units.
What did I do, dude?
6810
Explain to me what's going on, please. Now they got me down like little bitches. I was trying to detect you. Run! Jump up! What I pay for, you mean? I got money in my pocket right now. What's number?
You got the receipt?
No, I don't use receipts, dummy.
Stop, dude.
That's how you get traced, dumbass.
Slide on your butt. Slide on your butt.
Fuck you. What's got these in my clothes, dog? Y'all get your ass killed.
You hurt? Okay.
In this final series of videos, you're going to see the officers assist the subject up and escort him to the patrol car where they conduct a more detailed search of his person. During that search, he does increase his resistance for a short period of time. And during that pat down, they did locate a pair of pliers inside the suspect's pocket. You'll see them double lock the handcuffs so they don't get any tighter on the subject. And he was also, after this video, was turned over to medics for evaluation to make sure there was no injuries.
He hurt. The fuck? I wasn't even doing shit. I was standing there, he got me. The hell no, fuck you, stop. Fuck you up.
You're not trying to point.
You're not doing it.
Yes, relax.
Don't put your hands on me again. Back up. No, man, I'm tired of that white boy shit. I need to punch that room, kill that nigga every fucking day. Get the fuck off me. Fuck you. Fuck this.
Let's give him your car.
That's my name. Fuck you.
Let's give him your car.
Shit, bro.
This is the body worn camera from the second arriving uniformed officer that helped escort the suspect to the patrol vehicle.
So 924 continue.
Look at these in my clothes, dog.
Do you guys have medics or anything for the cut?
Y'all gonna get your ass killed.
You got medics for this cut?
Okay.
I don't
He's
know.
hurt. The fuck?
No.
I wasn't even doing shit. I was standing there. He got me.
We're not hurt.
The hell no. Fuck you. Stop. Bro, I swear to God, you touch me again, I'm gonna fuck you up.
Do not try to bite
Oh,
me.
you're not the one. It was the other one.
Yes, relax.
Don't put your hands on me again. Back up.
Hey, relax.
No, man, I'm tired of that white boy shit.
I know.
I get
Hey,
to punch
what-
black people and kill black niggas every fucking day.
Relax. Hey,
Yo,
what's
get
your,
the fuck off
what's your
me.
name?
Fuck you. Fuck this.
Let's get him to your car. Alex,
That's my name. Fuck you.
Yeah.
let's get him to your car.
Excuse me, I got spit.
Okay.
When you're ready.
Yeah. You done spitting for right now?
Yeah, man.
All right, we can stand you up.
Hey, do me a favor. Put your foot in here so we can roll you up easier. Put your foot
What are
towards
you
your...
talking about?
There you go. Now push yourself up. 1, 2, 3, up. Throw that black
You
car.
see this shit, bro?
Yeah, relax.
I should kill one of y'all bitch ass niggas. Y'all funny as hell.
Get him searched
Y'all
real
funny
good
as
though.
hell, bro.
Hang on.
Hold
Hang on.
still.
Yo. Just right up against the car, man.
Yo.
Hey,
Relax.
stop. Stop.
Nigga, you relax. What the hell? Look like I'm gonna go.
Listen, dude.
Yo, look, you do. I got my phone in operation.
Hold on, I got something. Prior.
Yeah, it's probably at work.
Check his front real good too.
Y'all funny as hell. Yeah, bitch, cause you keep hitting me, you dumb fuck. You funny as hell, bro. I swear to God, wait till my friends find out. Alright.
You got your side.
Y'all thinking back when these cuffs
He's
on.
double locked.
Y'all thinking back with these cuffs on. You looking? Ooh, bro.
Sit down.
I've been had no assault charges because I didn't hit him at all. It's some bullshit.
Slide your
It's
butt back.
some bullshit.
Slide your butt back. Hey, it's not me.
I don't give a fuck. You're white.
Slide back.
I ain't even racist, but y'all white as fuck.
Slide back so we can get you in, okay? Thank you.
Y'all did what touch me. I swung life, bro.
Slide in there. Get your foot.
Y'all funny as hell.
The videos in their entirety will be, a link will be shared where you'll be able to access all of the videos, body worn cameras, as well as the bystanders video and the in-car videos.
Thank you, Chief Fogg. And I want to reiterate that following the receipt of this video from the citizen, we appreciate bringing this forward. You know, it was a 4-step process for us. First, it was AllPac, which is a group that we have a lot of respect for, wanted to work with, we've been working with for years. The second thing was to provide this to the Michigan State Police. Third, to the county prosecutor. And fourth, we wanted to retain someone who has a lot of experience in reviewing use of force, police misconduct, someone who we didn't know. And 3 weeks ago, we did not know this individual, but we did a lot of research and asked who would be the best in the state to come in and review this for us. And that led us to retired Commander Powell. And at this time, I would like Commander Powell to go over her report and how it relates to the video and the events. So, Commander Powell.
Yes. So basically, what I did is I obtained the documents from Chief Plaga, and he provided me with all the officers on scene police reports. He provided me with the videos, and I took a lot of time and hours to review those videos and review the officers' reports. So we do know that the citizens video started, it didn't start at the beginning of the contact with the officer and the suspect. However, where it did start was the suspect with raised fists, balled up, knuckled up to the officer, and eventually turning away and attempting to walk away. So although some things weren't captured on video, it was some things that would lead a reasonable person to believe that there was a physical altercation of some kind between the officer and the suspect. Just the mere fact that his fists are raised and balled up, and the officer has his badge attached to his belt. And I can go off of what's reported. I wasn't there, I didn't see it, but based off of the officer's report, he identified himself, and there was immediate resistance, passive resistance. So when you're looking at the level of force that's used, usually the level of force that's used on an individual is predicated off of the level of resistance that a suspects give when an officer is attempting to take them into custody. And so we know that Detective King had a legitimate reason for the contact, for the stop. He had enough information from Myers Loss Prevention to believe that that was in fact a suspect. They gave a very detailed description. He had on very distinct clothing, and his direction of travel, which led Detective King to make contact with him. Detective King documented immediate resistance, passive resistance. And in that, the words, fuck you, I don't care who you are. Detective King indicated that he was assaulted by the suspect. That changed the trajectory of the arrest, right? You go from attempting to make contact with a suspect that you believe has been engaged in retail fraud to resisting and assaulting a police officer. So now that transitions to Detective King attempting to effect an arrest on the individual. And Detective King denoted that he first attempted to take the subject down. It was a failed attempt. And when the suspect directed his attention toward the recording witness, he took that as an opportunity to tackle him. And you're looking at the totality of the circumstances. You're looking at the location in which they were. Detective King had the suspect, which was in bushes. It's kind of restricted location. We're looking at the fact that Detective King is not a uniformed officer. He does not have the other things like chemical spray or a baton or even a taser, right? So I want to say what I looked at during this video, I saw levels of resistance, and I saw levels of the officers taking action towards that resistance. And the level of resistance was, the level of the use of force used was consistent with the level of resistance that the suspect gave. And the position of Detective Hagborn's knees, I know that was an area of concern, because when you look at the witness video, it looks as if Detective Hagborn's knee is very close to the suspect's neck, or if not on the suspect's neck. But then you get the different views from the body-worn cameras, and it is a move that I am very familiar with. I was trained in that move. Most officers in the state of Michigan was trained in that move in defensive tactics. It is the straight arm bar tactic where you straighten out the suspect's arms, whether they're standing or laying. But when they're laying and you got a suspect that's resistant and moving, you put your knee on that shoulder blade, that upper shoulder blade. It controls the arm better. And then the other knee is placed on the opposite part of that arm, and that arm is straightened out so that it's not able to bend. And then the hand was bent at the wrist, this is what they call a gooseneck, and that's controlled. And that way you can easily control the suspect, give them commands, and they're more apt to listen to those commands to get that person handcuffed. So that move he used was is a very common move. It was done well, it was executed very well. There was no indication. The suspect never said, "I can't breathe, you're on my neck." He could clearly talk. There was no labored breathing. So there was no concern in my review that Detective Hagborn had used excessive force in any way. And so just in a nutshell, not to go step by step, but the levels of resistance was matched with the officer's use of force. and it was not excessive in any way. And I think in review of the totality of the circumstances, that the officers' actions were within policy and were not excessive.
Thank you very much for that overview. Could you just tell us, retired Commander Powell, roughly how many excessive force, police misconduct, just a rough estimate of how many cases, incidents in your career you may have reviewed?
Well, it was a lot. I was as a detective sergeant in the Metro Detroit area, the 2nd District, for 16 years. I was just shy of 16 years when I became Commander of Internal Affairs. And I had, at least 5 to 10 officer-involved shootings, cases related to, allegations of excessive force. I worked on the FBI Public Corruption Task Force in Detroit. Then when I became Commander of Internal Affairs, the part of my position was to oversee and manage the department's high liability functions, which included, uses of force, deadly force, pursuits, traffic crashes, and things of that nature. So it's a vast amount. And I would say, I would just shudder to say hundreds,
Thank you very much for that. I want to just briefly touch on the county prosecutor's memo to us. I'm not going to speak for the county or the prosecutor. I'm only going to read 2 sentences from the memo that was issued by the county after reviewing the case, that the arrest. After a careful review of the evidence submitted under the totality of the circumstances, the use of force in this incident was reasonable and does not rise to the level of a criminal violation of the law. Additionally, while Detective Hagbaum's placement on of his knees to restrain the suspect was uncomfortably similar to recent events, careful review of the video revealed that the officer did not make contact with the suspect's neck, and the duration of the restraint was no longer than needed to handcuff the suspect. That's 2 sentences from a 4-page memo. Again, that's been available to the press since 9 o'clock this morning. It'll be made available widely on our website following this press conference. Even though, as I look at this as the township manager, the person who has a lot of involvement with our law enforcement, our police department, even though we had this incident, the state police, the county prosecutor, an expert in police misconduct and excessive force, all have come to the same conclusion. I believe there's a learning experience from everything you go through. And so the chief and I sat down last week and had a conversation about what can we learn from this? Even though we've been cleared of any wrongdoing, how can we be better? How can we be better tomorrow? So I'd like Chief Plaga to briefly discuss what it is that we learned from this and what we plan to incorporate. Chief?
Thank you, Manager Walsh. One of the things that I initially identified here was the use of plainclothes officers to make contact for non-crimes against persons. We've changed policy here. I don't believe that even if it was a uniformed officer, we would have had a different outcome. However, I think that it's important that uniformed officers make contact in non-assaultive or threatening threats to persons crimes to avoid these kind of conflicts. Also, we're looking at alternative trainings for ground control tactics to provide us other options and tools on top of the ones we currently have, so that we can better take subjects into custody. Because one of the goals is when you take somebody into custody, it's officer safety, but it's also the safety of the person that you're taking custody of. You have to make sure that at the end of the situation, at the end of the interaction, that all parties are safe. And those are the 2 takeaways that we've got from this incident and what we've learned.
Thank you very much. It's always important to take away a learning step. Everything you go through in life. At this time, that wraps up all of the comments that we have to make. At this time, we would take any questions that are out there. Our Director of IT, Stephen Beavis, will let us know who has the raised hand feature, who wishes to ask a question. I would ask that you state your name and your affiliation of any group or media that you're with. So This time we'll open it up.
As Manager Walsh stated, anyone wishing to ask a question is welcome to use the raise hand feature at this time, and we will enable you the ability to speak. I will recognize you by the name that you have in your Zoom identification, and you would please state your full name and then any affiliation you might have, and we can go ahead from there. I saw some hands going up and down for a moment, but I'm not seeing any hands at this time. Is there anyone who would like to use the raise hand feature to ask a question? I'm seeing a Crystal Nurse LSJ. You've been enabled to speak, and yeah, unmute yourself and proceed, please.
Hi, my name is Crystal Nurse. I'm from the Lansing State Journal. In regards to one of the detectives kneeling on the suspect, what led you guys to determine that it was not in the same aspect as was seen in recent events, given what we saw with the body cam footage and also with the witness nearby, given that the detective was near the suspect's neck in a way that, as you guys stated, could be similar to what we've seen in recent memory?
Chief Fogg?
So as Commander Powell stated and explained, one of the tactics for non-compliant handcuffing is to wedge that arm, the arm that you're trying to get control of, between both legs, and you stretch the person out in a prone position. It is an effective and safest way to take somebody into custody, and they were not. It was not an intent to kneel on the neck. As a matter of fact, our policies at our organization equate kneeling on the head or neck of an individual as intentionally, and to use it as a form of control. We put that under the deadly force aspect of. But this is not. The knee was clearly not on the neck or head. It was the perspective of the video of the passerby that raised concerns for us.
And I'd like to jump in and say it was seconds. It wasn't minutes. The fact that it was on his shoulder or back and not on his neck, it was seconds. If you look at the video and you count, it is less than 10 seconds that his knee is where it is at. He used the force that he needed at the moment. It wasn't long and drawn out. It was seconds. The minute they had him cuffed, the second rather, they had him cuffed, that knee raised up. And if you watch the video and you see that it is seconds and it's on his back and not on his neck.
Thank you. Next question, Mr. Peters.
The next hand raised we have is from T. Wilson. Again, please identify your full name and affiliation. You will need to unmute yourself. You may notice in the toolbar for your Zoom window that there is a mute and unmute button in the corner. You'll need to hit that button in order for us to be able to hear you.
Maybe we should move on to someone else.
We actually have no other raised hands. If there are no other people, if you were having a problem with your raise hand feature, that we have Crystal Nurse again coming with the second question.
Hi, again, this is Crystal Nurse from the LSJ. What charges was the suspect ultimately charged with?
So the report and request for charges are still with the Ingham County Prosecuting Attorney's Office. There are retail fraud charges and assaulting a police officer charges pending.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
No, we've requested T. Wilson to, there we go. Cody Butler, once again, please state your name and affiliation.
Hi, Cody with WILX. I saw that the plainclothes detectives were responding because all the other uniformed officers were already on calls. How are you guys going to kind of adjust that so that you guys will be able to kind of respond to these situations with you guys aren't using the plainclothes detectives?
Chief?
So there's a couple of things, and this is really from the takeaways, is making sure that staffing is adequate at the beginning of a shift. The other is prioritizing calls. There were officers, if you listen to the audio, you can hear one of the officers that ended up responding when the detective announced he was in an altercation, that she had to hang up on a person that she was dealing with. And prioritizing non-in-progress calls is going to be a very important part of us being able to respond with uniform officers to these types of calls.
Thank you, Cody. You know, we're like I said, we learn from everything. We learn from every experience we have. Appreciate the question. Anyone else? Looks like there's a Dave House.
Yeah. Again, you don't have to wait to raise your hand until the previous speaker is done. We currently have a Dave Howe. Again, please state your name and affiliation.
Hello, my name is David Howe. I'm a resident of Okemos, and I just want to say I appreciate that you're sharing all this information with us. And what I appreciate is that you're taking time to reflect and learn from this. I think that says a lot about how our police force is managed in this town. I appreciate your work.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And the only way we know how to operate is being done. Well, that causes good days, and we'll continue to operate that way as a community, as a township, a law enforcement department. We appreciate it.
Once again, we're seeing no raised hands at this time, sir.
Thank you. In closing, again, I want to thank everyone for their attendance, their patience, and their attention. For the moment we found out, we're presented a copy of the video on March 11th. We've tried to do the right thing. And that's what we'll always do as an agency. We'll always try to learn from everything that occurs. And again, thank you very much.